Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is The C.L. Bryant Show.
Good evening, everybody, and I am C.L. Bryant. This is The C.L. Bryant Show. Thank you so much for joining us here today, and it is Monday, a beautiful day in the jewel cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier City. I want to welcome aboard all of our friends there in southern Arkansas and East Texas, along with our friends across the North Louisiana territory, and all of you throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known. I certainly hope that all of you made it through the weekend safe and sound, and when I mean sound, without any real difficulties or problems. We still want to lift up in prayer all of our friends, neighbors, loved ones who may have been affected by the floods here in the last couple of weeks. On the line with me coming up in the next segment will be Congressman John Fleming of the 4th District, who is, of course, running for the Senate seat of soon-to-be vacated seat of Senator David Vitter. And we have just come off of a listening tour, free pack listening tour. If you were listening to the show on Friday, you know that we were at Centenary, Bynum Hall there at Centenary, and had a great turnout. Great people were there, great conversation, and got a chance to meet with so many of you out there, and really enjoyed the time that we spent traveling through Louisiana, listening to the things that are on the minds of our people, not only about issues that do affect us here on a state and local level, but a national level as well. We got a chance to talk about the presidential election and also about the senatorial election as well. Michelle is in Washington, D.C. as we speak, on the ground there. Donald Trump, I believe, I'm not really sure, but I believe he is up, just about to be up, or he is up right now, speaking to AIPAC, American Israeli Political Action Committee, and I think that she will be on the line with me here shortly after the 6 o'clock hour, and we will be getting a live feed from her there on the floor. Congressman Fleming will be headed there right after his conversation with me here on the line tonight. There were some serious votes that took place on the Senate floor, on the congressional on the congressional floor today, that he had to hang around for. But he's going to be on. We're going to be talking about Israel, and we're going to be talking about the flooding that has taken place here in this area, along with other things as well. So don't go anywhere. Stick around. This will be a jam-packed show. Then later on, coming up, will be a special segment. Grub is doing something special here tomorrow, and I'm going to let them tell you all about that. It's going to be really nice, and you want to stick around. I'm going to tell you all about it here in just a little bit. As you know, earlier today, Hillary Clinton did, in fact, speak to AIPAC, which is, I think there's about 18,000 people there, Jewish delegation, Christian delegations that are there, and she was well received, very well received there. In fact, she gave, be honest, let's just be honest, she gave a very good speech. She gave a very good speech, and so many of the voting populace of Jewish people in this country, for whatever reason, I've never really been able to figure it out. A friend of mine, Stan Solomon, told me that there is a reason why Jewish people vote Democrat, and I'll share that with you down the road here in just a little bit. But it seems that she came off very good there. It doesn't appear that Donald Trump will receive the same type of warm and fuzzies as Hillary and even Kasich. I was able to hear, I didn't get a chance to see it, but I got a chance to hear some of Kasich's speech there at AIPAC, and he was well received too. Ted Cruz will be coming up a little bit later on in the rostrum tonight. He probably will be received very, very well at the APAC, American Israeli Political Action Conference there in Washington, D.C. And so we look forward to not only hearing from Michelle on the ground report there at APAC, but also Congressman Fleming, who will be soon going to APAC to, of course, engage in the festivities that are going there, and, of course, to be a part of the bridge building that must take place in this country. Well, tomorrow, Arizona, Utah, up for grabs. Trump scheduled to take, according to the polls, Arizona in a pretty decisive way. Ted Cruz looks as though he's going to crush Trump in Utah. Then, everything begins to spread out. We began to look at the field the way it is. The more we look at this field and the more we look at how Ted Cruz is beginning to strengthen himself in this state. And I think tonight, this speech that he gives at AIPAC will give him even greater speech. And then Trump's perhaps lack of reception there, because some rabbis are scheduled to walk out. There's a boycott that very well may take place during Trump's speech. I'm going to talk about these protesters who have in fact blocked traffic, beaten people up, and all that type of thing. And I don't think that anyone really can honestly blame Donald Trump for that, because he has never. And don't get me wrong, I am not a Trump supporter, as yet, not until I have to be. I am not a Trump supporter, but I am a supporter of free speech and free gathering. And I do not think that I think all of this stuff has been coordinated by the left to make us, conservatives on the right, look bad. We're going to talk more about it. Be back with you here in just a minute with Congressman John Fleming of the 4th District here in Louisiana. I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show. I'm back in a minute. CL back with you on this Monday evening from the jewel cities of the Arklatex in the greatest land on the face of the earth, and to all of our listeners across the Great Pond, particularly our men and women in uniform in other lands and all our ships at sea. We want to thank you for joining us here today. This is the CL Bryant Show, and again, I am CL Bryant, and joining me on the line now is my congressman, a congressman from the 4th District. He is Dr. and Congressman John Fleming. And John, thank you so much for coming back on the show with us. You're a regular, but thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thanks, CL, and there's some exciting times coming up, and as you know, we have the APAC annual convention, and there's a lot of citizens.
Yes, sir, no doubt about it. And speaking of APAC, are you there yet? Have you arrived yet?
I'm on my way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just voted on the floor, so I'm on my way.
Right.
And for your listeners, APAC, it's an acronym that's a long acronym, but basically it's a organization that promotes Israel and the protection of Israel, and Israel as a Jewish state. So we celebrate APAC. I meet with a number of APAC members and board members, especially this time of year.
Absolutely. And, you know, there is a statement that you have released, and in fact, it supports better funding for Israel. You stated that we need to ensure Israel has the resources and support it needs to combat threats from Iran. Is that threat, you would know as well as anyone would know, and better than most, what that threat is from Iran? This is not just a fairy tale. This is real, is it, John?
Well, absolutely, CL. And, you know, the ink wasn't even dry on the Iranian deal that the president made. And already we see Iran violating both materially and at heart the agreements they have. Instead of anytime, anywhere inspections, what we're really seeing is just any time that Iran decides that they want to allow those inspections. Some places those inspections are no American is allowed, and in some cases only cameras are allowed. The other day we had 2 ballistic missiles that were shot over Israel that had derogatory comments about ending Israel and killing every Jew. And so I don't see what much good such an agreement is when there's no real relationship built between the two parties.
During this Easter week here in America, John, so many of us Christians, of course, remember the close tie that we do have to Israel. And there are some candidates, Bernie Sanders being one in the other party, in the Democrat Party. And then I'm not going to mention any names in our party, but there are candidates who feel as though there might need to be a neutral ground that America takes as far as Israel is concerned. What type of neutrality? Either we're on their side or we're not. John, how do you feel about that?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, as a Christian, I feel a close tie with Jews, the Israelis in particular. We are linked by spiritual DNA. Our patriarchs, our religious forefathers, created the land of Israel. If you look at the archaeology of that land there, you find that the Israeli people, the Israelites, if you will, were there long before many others who claim that as their land. And so there's no question that Israel should be protected. It is one of our closest allies. We also should maintain Israel as a Jewish state because, you know, it's in a tough neighborhood and surrounded by people of another religion, Muslim, and it has a right to its own sovereignty and to its own religion. And we helped create a modern state of Israel.
There's no question about that. It is a tough neighborhood, as you said. There is a topic I want to throw in because it is on the front line on the newspaper. Front line of the newspapers. We're on the front line of our headlines in the country right now. And there's the president's trip to Israel. I was looking at this photo op that he took there in Cuba. Not Israel, but Cuba, in front of Che Guevara. Che Guevara is a spawn of Karl Marx, and I thought it was very bad form for the president to take that type of shot. It's as though Che Guevara is looking over the shoulder of a U.S. president. What do you think of our president lending what I would term, this is my words, John, his prestige to that type of regime, in your opinion?
Well, CL, I think that is symbolically a disaster. It sort of suggests that by way of President Obama, our future is in communism and socialism. And don't forget how brutal these dictators are, Castro and Chavez. They kill thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people. They've taken away human rights as well as human dignity. Their economies are shambles. And if we start trading with Cuba, what we're going to be doing is giving them the money and the resources to continue to dominate their people and take away their freedoms and to export terrorism. So this is really a very bad precedent.
And when we're talking about giving people our money, John, well, let's get back to these Iranians. We're giving them a whole bunch of money too. Is the same effect going to take place with releasing this type of monies to the Iranians? It seemed as though they will be totally unbridled in what they can do with $150 billion. What sense did that make?
Well, no question about it, CL, because what happens is even though we are asking them to gradually sign on to the program where they have oversight, and I would argue they don't really have oversight, we're releasing them in their sanctions immediately, and that $150 billion of cash that goes right into their economy is only going to make it worse. They're thumbing their nose at us as we speak and showing us complete disrespect for doing that. And at the end of the day, they'll use that money for state-sponsored terrorism.
Hold that thought right there, John. Hold that thought. We're on with Congressman John Fleming of Louisiana, 4th District. We'll be right back. I'm C.L. Bryant with more of the interview with Congressman Fleming. TL. Monday, in the jewel cities of the Arklatex, you can listen to us live anywhere in the world. Just go to TheCLBryantShow.com. Two ways to listen to us on TheCLBryantShow.com or 710keel.com. You can listen to us live. And on the line with me is United States Congressman District 4, Louisiana, John Fleming. John, we were talking about the monies that is being released to the Iranians, and I hear a lot of presidential candidates, a couple in particular, saying that they're going to rip up the deal, the Iranian deal, but once they get the money, what good is that, in your opinion?
Well, it's very problematic, but I will say this, the Iranian deal is no better, no stronger, really, than the president who's in office, and if the next president who comes in office decides to change the deal, he certainly can do that because this is not a treaty. It never got approval by Congress. And while we can't take back the $150 billion, it's very difficult to put sanctions back on Iran. There are steps that we can take going forward, and I think should take measured steps that does leverage Iran to allow the kind of oversight necessary and to avoid Iran from becoming a threshold nuclear state, which they're bound to do at the rate they're going.
Absolutely. And, John, to switch gears a little bit now, back home here, we have, as you well know, been hit with flooding in this area. In fact, tomorrow, Burger is all 50% of all proceeds. They'll be donating all 50% of all profits to Goodwill tomorrow. And but I see that there is Louisiana residents living in certain parishes will receive tax filing extensions. Tell us a little bit more about that. What's going on with that?
Sure. Well, the floods, flash flooding occurred about around 2 weeks ago now. It looks like it was started, I think, about March 13th. And I came and assessed the floods Friday before last, did a flyover and a Black Hawk helicopter, spent the day with sheriffs and others, went to the Bossier Civic Center to visit with the victims. And certainly it's affected a lot of people, CL. 26 parishes have been declared federal disaster areas, and the silver lining in all of this is that for those who are in this disaster area designation, their deadline for filing taxes has been pushed back to July 15th. So I would encourage everyone to take advantage of that. If your papers were destroyed or affected, that gives you more time to put that together.
Absolutely, and that is a very great gesture that is made toward those victims of the flood. Well, John, you're on your way to AIPAC, and it promises to be an exciting next couple of days there in Washington, D.C. The American-Israeli relationships that are very important to not only Americans but to the world. John, fight the good fight. God bless and God keep you, and we'll talk to you on the trail.
Thank you so much, CL, and we Christians and Jews alike.
Yes, sir. And happy Easter to you, Congressman.
Thank you. You as well.
Yes, sir. John Fleming, 4th District of Louisiana, here was on the line with us, and there are some things going on in our country right now, folks, that all of us need to pay close attention to. I do want to extend compliments to everyone and John Fleming and everyone who had anything to do with giving some tax relief to the flood victims as far as extensions on tax filings. I'm sure there were a lot of documents that were lost during this time. Some people lost a lot. They lost everything. Some people lost everything. And then we're just now beginning to enter into the spring season, and we're in Tornado Alley. This is Louisiana, and we've survived, and we will survive because we're survivors. But we have to keep in mind that natural disasters do occur, and they're not. As you know, I am not one of these climate change type people. I think they've always occurred. They will always occur. It's nothing that we have any control over. It's an act of nature. Nature does what it does for whatever reasons that it does it. And we have been victims of it just simply as being inhabitants of this country, of this world, this earth that we live on. And one of the great things about humanity is the brain that I believe God gave us to deal and to cope with these types of things. And we have. We have survived. We've built great civilizations all around the world, even in the midst, throughout our human history, of natural disaster. But it is always good when we can come together as fellow citizens of our states, our parishes, and sometimes when we look at the work of the Red Cross, when we become citizens of the world in that sense, we help one another. Tomorrow, Grub Burger, and later on Andy Hayes of Grub Burger will be on with me. Tomorrow, March 22nd, they will be donating 50% of profits. Hey, folks, that's significant. That's huge. They will be donating 50% of profits to Goodwill to help flood victims in our area. That is huge. You hear me sing their praises all the time as far as their food is concerned. And yes, full disclosure, yes, they are a sponsor of this show. But 50% of their profits tomorrow, the Grub Burger here in Louisiana will be giving 50% of their profits tomorrow to Goodwill to help the flood victims in this area. And later on, as I mentioned to you, Andy Hayes will be on with me. I want to thank some of our sponsors as well, because all of them have the same type of heart. Holmes, Honda, European, Bailey's Fine Jewelers, Tiger Axle, Milam Cars, Giuseppe's, DavTac Custom Arms and Ammo, along with Signature Cleaning Service, sponsoring this segment of the C.L. Bryant Show. I'm back in just a couple of minutes.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
CL back with you on this Monday evening, and thank all of you for joining us. I also want to thank Signature Cleaning Service, Subway, Guardian Alarm System, Superior Dry Cleaning, Chevyland, along with Yoakum Toyota and Breches Insurance for sponsoring this segment of the C.L. Bryant Show. Now, Michelle will be joining us a little bit later on. Ted Cruz is up speaking as we speak, and she will be joining us after that speech. I am very anxious to see how the Trump speech went and how all of that is panning out there in the convention that is going on, the yearly convention that's going on with AIPAC. If the foundation of our country is destroyed, and it does seem like there are things that are being chipped away at in our nation as we speak, free speech being the fundamental right that all of us have, then what do we do? What do we do when you have a group of people who will invade the streets in the name of free speech, who want to take away free speech? One of the difficulties that I feel in this presidential election is going to be those who really don't understand who we are, what we are, and the foundational principles of this country. And in not understanding that, the foundational principles of the country began to erode. Let me, let me share with you three basic rights when protesting that you have. Three basic rights must be protected when it comes to protest rallies. And then you take this for what it's worth when you think about what's going on and how these people are approaching Donald Trump. First of all, the first right you have is the right of the speaker. It may be you, it could be anybody who's up to speak. In America, the speaker has a right to speak. That's free speech. The speaker has a right to speak. It doesn't matter what he's saying, unless he doesn't stand up in a crowded theater and start yelling fire. The speaker has a right to speak. That includes Al Sharpton. That includes David Duke. Okay? Understand that. He can stand on any street corner in this country, and they have the right to speak without being shouted down. Secondly, the listener has a right to hear. If they want to hear, if they want to gather around that speaker who has a right to speak, and you want to listen to that, you have a right to listen. And then thirdly, protesters of those speeches, they have a right to protest. That is the American way. The speaker has a right to speak. Doesn't matter if it's David Duke. Doesn't matter if it's Al Sharpton. Doesn't matter if it is Minister Louis Farrakhan or Billy Graham. It doesn't matter. That it is an American right to have the right to speak. And then the listener, if he wants to listen to Al, if he wants to listen to David Duke, if he wants to listen to Minister Farrakhan, if he wants to listen to Billy Graham, they have a right to stand there or be wherever they are and listen. But if you don't like what is being said, you have a right to protest, but you don't have a right to do harm to the hearer, the speaker, the listener, the speaker, or other protesters. Which means that when these clowns shut down the protest of Donald Trump, they were actually violating his civil rights. which is a crime. When they shut down the highways of the streets, when you actually stop traffic, stop the flow of traffic. Now, you can wave signs all you want. Anybody can stand on a street corner and wave signs all you want. But stopping traffic is a crime. Waving signs is not. You can slow traffic down because of perhaps congestion, but you cannot back up traffic. In fact, if you're right near a state line and you hinder, as a protest movement, you hinder traffic across that state line, that's a federal crime. So what is happening in this country right now is that there are people who are violating others' rights, first of all, to speak, to be heard. And then they're violating the rights of others who have a right to hear. And then it appears that nobody understands the rules of protest. As long as you don't infringe upon the other two rights as a protester, you're within your rights. You can protest, no problem. Every American has the right to protest as long as you don't interfere with the other two rights of other citizens and individuals. And so we are, and this is giving rise to a lot of crazy people. Bill Ayers was a nut, okay? And Bill Ayers and people like him are involved in creating this kind of chaos, thinking they're actually doing something. I don't know what they think they're doing, but it's very un-American. It's very un-American. How can it possibly be How can it possibly be American to shut down another American's right to say what's on their mind? Okay, so you may think it's racist. That's okay. Let me tell you something, and this is where I get into trouble sometimes with my own personal views and beliefs. This is contained in my film. We actually bring this out in my movie, Runaway Slave. I don't care if my next door neighbor is a Ku Klux Klansman. I don't care. Do you understand what I'm saying? As long as I have the right to stay in my home peaceably, he can be anything he wants. I don't care if they don't like me. That's America. And so as long as my opportunities are the same as my neighbors, it doesn't matter what they are. First of all, we'll talk more about it when I return. I'm CL. Be right back. Okay, we're back, and I understand Ted Cruz is still talking there at the convention. Michelle will be on after his speech is complete. But I did get a text from my sales director, Rick Keller, that said that Donald Trump did well in his speech. It appears that Donald Trump used a teleprompter and appeared to be presidential. That is Rick's take on that. I'll have the whole crew in a little bit later on here in the week so that we can rehash and sort of do a post-mortem on all of this that is going on here in the country. But I was making a point when I left you that is controversial. Got a couple of texts from it. See, how can you say that you don't care if your neighbor? I just put it in an extreme. I don't care. I really don't. As long as my opportunities, as long as my chances of having what I want, the same as he's having what he wants, is the same. I don't care. As long as he stays on his side of the fence and doesn't bother me with that madness, I won't bother him with mine. And do you know that is the principle and the absolute core of what America is? The founding fathers, many of them did not like each other at all. They did not. But they had freedom and liberty in common. And once you understand that very principle of being an American, then, and let me tell you something. When you understand what being an American is all about, it does, in fact, transcend party. It transcends Democrat or Republican. It transcends black or white or whatever your ethnicity may be. Being an American and having American rights transcends all of that. And so with saying that, the founding fathers, a lot of them could not stand each other, but their properties joined one another. I can actually say to you, as an American, it doesn't matter to me what my neighbor is, as long as my opportunities and my privileges, my rights are not exploited by his. That was the evil of slavery in this country. You had people who were in this country who did not have rights, who did not have equal rights. They didn't have the opportunity to gain in the system, in the American system, as others did. And once the obstacle to competition was removed, then we made giant strides in this country. Are we yet perfect? No, we're not. We're not perfect yet. We won't be. Never will be. No country is. No, because no human being is. No people are. And a nation, a family, a church can never be any better than the people, the nature of the people who inhabit it. And the nature of human beings is flawed. So whatever government we happen to set up has to be flawed as well. It always will be. And that means there cannot be any equal outcomes. Not in America, not anywhere. Because the human being himself is flawed. And so the outcomes will never be equal. And then the people who, even brain ratio and whatever you call it, quotients and all that type stuff, we're created equal in the sense, in Lincoln's sense of it is that we all have equal ability according to equal opportunity according to our abilities. Not everybody on the Michael Jordan Bulls was Michael Jordan, because there were things that the man could fly. I went to a couple of those bowl games. Let me tell you, the man could fly. He absolutely could. But then there was Spud Webb. What, 5'6", 5'7", something like that?
We have 4 minutes.
He could fly too. The guy could fly. And so that's what it was. I believe that we're going to be joined here now for a few minutes by my executive producer, who is in Washington, D.C. at APAC. Michelle, welcome to the CL Bryant Show. I think for the first time by phone. What's going on up there, girl?
By phone. Well, it's been pretty crazy, CL. Ted Cruz is speaking right now, but he just followed Donald Trump, who actually hit the ball out of the park. I sent you that photo.
Yeah.
I was with the press, and they were sleeping through everybody else's speech, like not even paying attention. And I'm talking even Hillary this morning, but Donald Trump, he hit all of the points that AIPAC lobbies for.
Wow.
The embassy being in Jerusalem, about the United Nations. I mean, he was specifically and he was strategic. And there's a lot of Jewish Israeli media sitting there with us. And yes, it was amazing. Standing ovation. It was crazy.
Incredible. And of course, to everybody, Michelle does have press credentials, CL Bryant Show press credentials, and she's up there doing the Lord's work at AIPAC. And so, Michelle, did you see anybody boycott? There was no boycott of Trump.
Not inside. We all were asking each other because that was supposed to be a big thing, but there was none. There's a lot of security. They didn't get in. And honestly, CL, the protesters we did see outside, there was a pay tag. You know what they look like. They were sitting down at the Circle K drunk this morning. Someone paid them $5, and they're holding a sign. I sent you that picture earlier.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, that's a little bit different, but but we're going to do a lot on our show to help our listeners find out ways that they can help Israel, even as Christians. I mean, the biggest thing here is when they find out that you're a non-Jew, but you stand with Israel. It is amazing, and so many are the grandchildren and children of Holocaust survivors.
Yes,
everywhere, thousands of them. It is unreal.
I was on earlier, Michelle, with Congressman John Fleming, and we were talking about this being the Easter week here in America and how all of us who are Christians or believers or just Americans do, in fact, this week find ourselves in a special remembrance of how closely we are joined to Israel. And that's what you have just said, is that there seems to be a closeness for even Gentiles there, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, Theo. They're very open to it, and you're right. What a coincidence that it happens to be this week that actually joins our histories together. I will tell you, Paul Ryan, besides Trump, he really hit it out of the park. He knows his stuff, but Donald Trump, he's the showman. Now, Ted Cruz, of course, I have this Democratic congressman from California that was standing there with us, wanting to get interviewed, and he was saying, nobody's going to do it like Ted Cruz because, Ted Cruz is a guy that knows foreign policy.
Yes, and also Ted is, in fact, very well schooled on the state of Israel. And but the surprise of the night, and I guess we're giving Trump more press because he gets a ton of it.
Oh, but CL, this was crazy. He sounded, I hate to say what he sounded like, but presidential. And I have to be honest, all over D.C. Today he was on a press conference in a hotel bar, and everybody stopped, walked up, and stared. There is something about him that grabs people's attention.
Michelle, I hear the music. Listen, be safe, and be sure to go to Ebbett's Grill. It's one of the oldest in the city. Abe Lincoln, my good friend, was there. Talk to you later. Be careful.
Bye.
CL with you. I want to thank Chevyland, my good friend Bubba Willingham is. Let me tell you something. I was test driving a brand new Chevy Tahoe, the LTZ. It's got this hologram right there in the windshield where you can see how fast you're going and all that. The seat, sort of gives you this jolt when you're backing up and something's too close to you and all that type stuff. It has a lot of gadgets in there. Looking for a good car? Go out there and see my good friend Bubba Willingham at Chevyland. And if you can't get a hold of Bubba, see Blake Powell. And there's a buddy out there of mine, Lavelle Banks. See him at Chevyland. Also, folks, I want to thank Wilhite Solar and our new clients, Dale's Paving, Chris Fink. It's time to start looking at some of those things around the house that may need fixing as far as the pavement and foundation found around your sidewalks and that type of thing. You might want to talk to Chris Fink. You might want to give him a call. Dale's Paving, Bossier City, Harley-Davidson. It's time to ride. It was a beautiful day to be out riding today. Transmission, automotive technologies. And then coming up later in the show, Grub Burger will be telling us about their, I think it's just a mammoth, huge event that they will be doing tomorrow, donating 50% of the proceeds to Goodwill. Brown Dodge down in Mendon, thank you. And Aiken's Nursery. It's time to plant. It's my favorite time of the year because I'm able to get outside and get next to the dirt. I love to sweat. I love to dig in the dirt. And when I need to buy some things, go to Aiken. They're really good. They have what you need to beautify your place. And they are proud sponsors of the CL Bryant Show. And then I have several car dealers, and of course, I always talk about my friends at Chevyland, but I have some good friends over at Yoakum Toyota. Jared Hamilton, great guy, Jared Hamilton. Go see him at Yoakum Toyota. Now, Michelle has just gotten off the line with me and was saying that even she was surprised at how well Donald Trump did. Commentary. I think the man is preparing himself to be president of the United States. I think the only person standing in his way of being president of the United States is my guy, my candidate of choice, and that is Ted Cruz. But I think what Trump is just doing is making himself, did today, was make himself more palatable to the American people, at least in his demeanor. And I think maybe what he said about himself being able to become presidential if he needed to is something that he showed, evidently, according to Michelle and Rick Keller, who texted me in, both on my team. They both said that he appeared to be very presidential. What bothers me about it is this, and I know my people who are Trumpians are they're going to say, there he goes, here he comes. He's going to say, no, what bothers me about it is this. Just how good of an actor is he? Oh, they just lost their mind. And I'm not saying, listen, if he's able to do, because it is the presidency is a role that a man has to play. But it is something that I believe he should have in his heart. And I'm not saying that Trump is not a patriot. I believe he is. I believe he loves this country. I do believe that. I do believe that. But I believe also that Trump is a master showman. I believe he is a master salesman. And so that may very well, be enough, because he is running away with the field. He's getting all kinds of publicity. I'm talking about him, and even though I am a Ted Cruz supporter, and I do believe that Ted does still have a pathway to victory, although tomorrow is going to be very important. We have Utah and we have Arizona in play, and I believe Ted's going to take Utah very handily. It appears that the polls are saying that Trump may take Arizona, but Ted is the person, I believe, with the constitutional chops to be president of the United States. John Kasich, there is no pathway for him. As good a man as he may be, Rick, as good a man as he may be, there is no pathway for him. He can only gum up the works. That's all he can do. And so he's staying in the race, stay in the race. But I believe that, and mark my words on this, I believe Trump will get to the convention in July with around 1,000 votes, with 1,000 delegates. And I believe that Ted will get there with about 750. That's the way it's shaking out. Let me tell you why I'm saying that. Trump in these last, I think 2021, 22 primaries and caucuses that have occurred, he garnered about 7.5 million of the vote. But 12.8 million voted for someone else. So of the nearly 20 million, a little over 20 million people that voted, Trump garnered 7.5 million of that vote. And because of the way the system is set up, the bulk of the delegates have gone to him, especially in these winner-take-all states like Florida. The bulk of the delegates went to him. But only 7.5 million of the 20 million have voted for him. And so that means that 12.8 million have not voted for him. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this when I return, because it is important when you consider that Ted Cruz does in fact have a path to the nomination himself. I'm C.L. Bryant. This is the C.L. Bryant Show. Again, I want to thank all of our sponsors, Holmes, Honda, European, Mark Johnson. Mark Johnson. Go see Mark at Holmes, Honda, European. Bailey's Fine Jewelers, Gary and Paul, my good friends. I'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Get yourself some cheap sunglasses. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Spied a little thing and I followed her.
CL back with you on this Monday evening, a beautiful day in the neighborhood here in the jewel cities of the Arklatex and throughout the fruited plains of America. We want to welcome you back to the show. I was saying that Trump only got, of the nearly 21 million votes that have been cast in this primary season. And I want to open up the phone lines, 320-5335. 320-5335 is the number to call. And, hey, coming up, maybe at the end of this segment, I'm going to play a clip for you from Al Sharpton. Don't go anywhere. We got some we talking about free speech and all this. We got some conversation I'm going to have about this from Al Sharpton. But to finish this thought, 320-5335, 318-320-5335 is the number to call. The difficulty that Trump is going to have when he gets to the convention, if he only arrives there with, say, 1,000 votes, will be Ted Cruz right behind him with about 700 or 800. I'm sorry, delegates. 700 or 800 delegates. Trump will have about 1,000. Cruz will have about 700 or 800. Trump may fall just short by about 75, maybe 50 delegates, but it's still the magic number to secure the nomination is 1,237 votes. And if you are short of that, then you go into a contested convention, which is beginning. Reince Priebus and the chairman of the RNC are all beginning to think may very well happen. Now, during the primaries, Trump only got 40% of the vote, which means that 60% of those 21 million votes voted for somebody else. And so there is still a path to the nomination for Ted Cruz. But this is what I'm afraid is going to happen. I'm afraid that because both Trump and my guy, Ted Cruz, are considered, I don't know, bad news for the insiders, I have a feeling that they're going to try to parachute somebody else in for the nomination, leapfrogging both Trump and Cruz. And if that happens, folks, I believe you can give it up as far as the Republican Party is concerned. We were talking about things that are un-American. That would be totally un-American. Now, there is something uniquely American about Al Sharpton being so close to the president, never having to answer for anything that he said in lives past or life present. Jay, if you got that queued up, I want you to hear something. Keep this in mind. I want you to hear this, folks. It's going to take about 45 seconds to listen to, but I want you to hear what Al Sharpton had to say about 10, 15 years ago when he was Ratso Al Sharpton.
All the human news lovers, all the panther lovers, all the doing the die, all the by any means necessary Negroes in Plainfield. I didn't see them stand up and do nothing. Oh, brother, I don't believe in marching. I don't believe in that. I believe in offering the pig. Well, they got pigs out here. You ain't off one of them. What I believe in, I do. Do what you believe in. Or shut up and admit you've lost your courage and your guts to stand up. I ain't having no march. I believe in fight. Well, fight then. Ain't nobody holding you. I'm off the man. Off. Put in the crackers all right around here. Ain't nobody ever told you I'd knock the gun out your hand.
Yeah, hate speech, to say the least. If you wasn't able to hear that as clearly, let me give you some of the things, the context of what he was saying. First of all, off the pigs. Secondly, kill the, if it was another word, it would be called the N-word, but he used the saltine word as it was referred, and well, of course, that's not what it means. It refers to someone who cracks a whip. That's where the word cracker comes from. It refers to someone who was the overseer, the one who cracked the whip in the fields during times of slavery in this country. And he was saying, off them, kill them too. There's plenty of those crackers walking around, is what he said. Kill them too. Now, this is where, although, remember what I said a little bit earlier. Now, Al Sharpton and David Duke, in my opinion, are the same animal. They're the same person. They're one's in darker skin, one's in light skin, but they're the same person. But this is the authenticity of America. Both of them have the right to speak. But now the climate is changing since Al said these words and since David Duke was spouting the type of things that he was spouting. There is something put in place now called hate speech. I'm not necessarily on the real gravy train on the train with all of that, with that hate speech stuff, because they seem to be targeting conservatives when they're talking about hate speech. Because Al could say this today, and he would not be targeted by anybody who would call this hate speech. Betcha. I betcha. But David Duke on the other hand, saying the same thing. I'm not standing up for David Duke, or believe me, but they probably, I don't know if they do it or not, because Duke has gotten away with a lot of stuff. But let's just say he was a conservative Republican who is not, and Duke has nothing to do with the conservative Republican movement. Nothing. I think he would be, if it was Paul Ryan who said something like that, man, he'd be hauled away in leg irons. Definite double standard. We're going to talk more about it. 320-5335, 320-5335. I'll take your calls on the other side of the break. I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show. Be right back.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom.
CL back with you on this Monday evening, and thank you all for joining me. I knew the phones would light up. Larry, thank you for calling, and thank you for listening. What's on your mind, brother?
How you doing, Reverend Brad?
Doing the very best I can. I hope you're well.
And understand before I ask this question, I hate groups.
Yeah.
I mean, there's too much hate in the world already.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what is the difference between the KKK and Black Lives Matter?
Say it again, Larry. I think your Rottweiler back there, Manny.
Ask my golden retriever. No, but I mean, what is the difference between the KKK and the Black Lives Matter?
Absolutely none. Absolutely none. Especially, and when you talk about the Muslim groups, and you talk about
all kind of hate groups,
they're the same. They're the same people. I am convinced that Al Sharpton, who preaches racial division and all that kind of thing, when you talk about KKK, Black Lives Matter, and white lives don't, when you're talking about those types of people, you're talking, Larry, about the same thing. But this is my problem. Yeah, we have overcome all types of things here in America, but now, and I'm going to, and the next time you get a chance to listen to some comedians, black comedians, white comedians, and this is very apparent when you talk about comedians, or even one of those sitcom shows that come on TV. They can talk about white people in any way that they want to, but you can't say the same things in the same way about black people on television as they are able to say about white people. And this is the problem that I have, Larry. You can't have this both ways. You can't.
See, I was born the same time period you were.
Yeah.
And I've had in the same areas, and I've had to do some changes in my life to get to where I'm at today.
Yeah.
And it took some adjustment. I mean, you, me, whatever. But it's understanding it's not a color. It's a soul.
Yeah. And that's the Christian. I hear the Christian talking out of you, Larry, as far as that's going. And I'll tell you something else. Once we all understand that in this country, Larry, that we are Americans before we're Republicans, before we're Democrats.
You're right.
We're Americans. And really, you should be an American before you're black or white. You should be an American. And what I mean by that is that it is the country that gives all of us the opportunity to be who we are. So you have to be an American first.
Well, we all have to be a soul.
Yeah, we all have one.
And let your eyes go blind about color. Good man, bad man.
That's the only way to judge it, Larry. He's a good fella. I want to be around him. He's a bad fella. I don't want to be around him. Doesn't matter what the color of his skin is.
Yeah, the skin don't make the person.
Thank you for your call, Larry. I mean, it was a great call. I'm CL.
I appreciate talking to you.
Appreciate you, brother. I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show, 320-5335, 320-5335. Yeah, Al Sharpton, back when he was snitching on the mob. And that was the weird thing about this. Al Sharpton was making a deal with the federal government back during this time, but yet he was calling, and see, that's the sham. That's a great Louisiana word. That was the sham that was going on in with this guy, with Reverend Al, with Ratso, is that he's pretending to be this radical, guy with the permed hair and all that kind of stuff, And I've had long hair myself, but it's always been natural. It's my hair. And so, but the thing is this. Let me tell you something. He was pretending, and he's pretending now. And what I don't understand is how in the world does somebody like him get to be the outreach director or the outreach guy, the go-to guy for the Obama administration? How can he have access to the president of the United States? We're going to talk about how I believe that happens here, because President Obama is in Cuba as we speak. And I got to tell you something. He has loaned the prestige of the American presidency to communist. Raul Castro actually disrespected him. Raul Castro met the Pope at the airport. He's met other world leaders at the airport. When Air Force One landed in Cuba yesterday, the head of state, the leader of the free world, lands on this little island that was actually going into the toilet until we reestablish relationships with them. The little dictator who runs that place down there didn't even come to greet the leader of the free world, who has now opened the way for American dollars to flow into Cuba. That's how disrespectful Raul Castro was toward the President of the United States. I think it was a travesty of American presidential power to even be there. First of all, it was sickening to me to see Air Force One on a tarmac in Cuba, where human rights are still, people are being, if we, listen, we're going to be sending jobs down there, and they're going to be demanding. We're going to, because it's American money. They're going to say that, well, we have to pay minimum wage. Okay, the money goes into the government of Cuba. They pay the people whatever they want. It's a sham. And then the president takes a picture today in front of an image of Che Guevara, who is a spawn of Karl Marx. It looked as though the image was looking over the American president's shoulder. I tell you. And then, on top of all that, he was going to England. He's still going to England, but Queen of England's not even going to meet with him. I'll be back in a little bit. I'm CL. Don't go anywhere.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
CL, back with you on the final stretch of the C.L. Bryant Show on this Monday evening here in the Jewel Cities of the Arklatex. One of the newest businesses open here in the Arklatex is Grub Burger. And Jane, I know you're listening. She's usually listening around this time. I guess you know where we're going to be eating lunch tomorrow. It's going to be Grub Burger. And on the line with me, and I want to encourage all of you to join me for lunch at Grub Burger tomorrow. Grub Burger tomorrow. Jane and I'll probably show up around 11, 12 o'clock. Love to see you there, too, around lunchtime. Joining me now is my good friend Andy Hayes, the managing partner there at Grub Burger. Andy, thank you so much for being back on the show.
CL, thank you for having me, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and an honor to be on your show.
Tell us about tomorrow. What's going on there at Grub Burger?
Tomorrow we're doing what we refer to as a profit share for the Red Cross in honor of the victims of the flood, here in Shreveport Bossier. Basically, anyone coming in tomorrow, all they have to do is, mention either the flood victims or the Red Cross, and we'll donate half the sale to the Red Cross for that, for that purpose. And we hope to make a good significant donation to help these folks out. I know a lot of people were impacted pretty hard, by these floods that we had last week, and we just want to do our part, man.
Absolutely, you're doing your part. Let me tell you something, folks. This is a goodwill day that they're setting aside. It's a goodwill day that they're setting aside to give to the flood victims here. And let me tell you, we're living in Tornado Alley. It can happen. We pray God that it doesn't, but it can happen. And when natural disasters do happen in our community, it is great to know that there are businesses like Grub Burger who will partner with organizations like the Red Cross. We had the director of the Red Cross on just last week. And it's always great to see that Red Cross showing up when there is a natural disaster. Andy, how's business, baby?
Oh, man, it's been great, and our community has really come out and supported us. And, it's a no-brainer, whenever you're successful and, your community that you're born and raised here and you grew up and you love, is coming out to support you. I mean, you got to do what you can for these people. This is our home, and I know you understand that.
Oh yeah, we're both Arklatex boys.
That's right. And, I went up to got in touch with our vice president of operations, Bowen Easton, and man, what can we do to help? And I mean, he was on board immediately. And I propose when we do these profit shares, we do them usually Monday through Thursday. We'll donate 15 or 20%, which is basically our bottom line, for that day. But when I told him I wanted to do half the proceeds, he didn't even bat an eye at it.
Wow, Andy, that is huge. And folks, I want you to understand the impact, the gesture that is being made here. Any company, whether you're large or you're small, whether you're a huge corporation or you're a small business, when you take 50% of the day's take and you give that to charity, basically, that's what we're doing. We're giving it to those who are less fortunate, who have been hit by natural disaster. Folks, that is huge. And so tomorrow, I want you to hear me well. Come on out. What time's the door open, Andy?
Doors open at 11. They close at 10. It's an all day affair.
Make it your business right now to go out and eat at Grub Burger. Let me tell you, the food's going to knock your socks off your feet. The food is just fantastic. And you got these homespun handmade shakes. Get one of them. They are absolutely fantastic. And I'm telling you something. Listen, you have everything. You not only, this isn't just a burger joint. This is much more than that. This is Grub Burger. And I mean, you can get some serious grub there. And you know what I really like? I really like the chili. You cannot beat the chili. And along with my burger, I always like me a little bit of that Grub Burger chili. It is fantastic. You listen. You make it there you make it on site, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Every day.
Everything.
That is fantastic, Andy. Tomorrow, give us the address.
It's 1370 East 70th. It's really the corner of 70th and Fern, right next to the Origin Bank. It's but 1370 East 70th, Suite 100. Come on in.
Come on in and join me.
Everyone's welcome, exactly.
Everybody's going to be there. Listen, Jane, we're going to Grub Burger tomorrow for lunch, and we may have dinner there as well. Going to spend the day at Grub, giving what we can to this worthy cause. God bless you. God keep you, man, and fight the good fight as I know you will.
Look forward to seeing you, sir.
We'll see you there. I'm CL. That was Andy Hayes, managing partner of Grub Burger. Tomorrow on the corner of Fern and 70th Street. You join me for lunch, and I think we might just have dinner there at Grub Burger tomorrow because the cause is absolutely so worthy. I've eaten in there many times now. Never have I been disappointed with the service. Never have I been disappointed with the food, and the gesture that they make toward the community is just outstanding. Grub Burger tomorrow. See you for lunch. I'm CL. Be right back. CL. Monday evening, home stretch of the CL Bryant Show. We just ask you to tune in at least 2 hours a night from 5:30 to 7:30 nightly right here on 710 Keel. And you can always listen to the show wherever you are in the world. TheCLBryantShow.com, TheCLBryantShow.com, or you can go to 710keel.com, 710keel.com. You can always go there and listen to the show live. Just click the Listen Live button. Folks, there is an epidemic. There's an epidemic of heroin abuse in this country among our young people. Our young people are turning to heroin. There was a time back in the late 60s, early 70s, where this was occurring as well. You had junkies everywhere. My wife and I, Jane, when we were living in California, we had what was called a Skid Row ministry. We basically ran into drunks and drug addicts all the time. We shared the gospel of Jesus Christ with them there in MacArthur Park, in Los Angeles. The Union Rescue Mission down on, I think it was 5th, I can't remember, it was 5th Street, that Jane and I used to minister. Chaplain Harold Pullins was the chaplain there at the time. And we had a great ministry. We take our older girls, we even take them with us onto the streets of Skid Row there in Los Angeles. That has been nearly 40 years ago, about 36 years ago, when we first started our little ministry there on Skid Row. I mention that because the heroin epidemic, that was 1978, 79, when we were there ministering, 78, 79, all the way to about 1980 or 81, we ministered there. And the heroin epidemic was big then. MacArthur Park was pretty much known as Needles Park. I mean, when you run into it, you had to be very careful there in Needles Park, because you could run into a needle and get yourself stuck with a needle in Needles Park. That type thing is beginning to explode again here nearly 40 years later among our young people. It is absolutely a horror what heroin does to the life of people. It is a horror not only what it does to men, but it's a horror what it will do to women in particular, who have the craving and the habit of heroin addiction. Our children, in so many cases, are being, as you say, turned on to it in ways that you would not even imagine. But this is the reality in Seattle, Washington. Seattle, Washington is proposing to have what is called safe houses for shooting up with responsibility. Now, the explosion is 400% in this country. It is up 400% from 5 years ago. 400 times more. 400% more, rather, than 5 years ago. And this is something that I think we all should think about. Is the government in the business of sustaining addictive habits? I'll say it again. Should the government be in the business of sustaining addictive habits? Should we pay for the sustaining of addictive habits? Because that's what we're talking about. It does not stop overdoses, because the type of craving that heroin lends, and like I'm telling you, Jane and I understand this firsthand. We used to minister to people with drug addiction. Most of our ministerial lives have been dealing with people with these types of problems. And let me tell you something, even if you have a supervised type of system, that doesn't stop the addiction once they leave there. They still go out and get drugs even once they're gone, and they still overdose. It doesn't stop it. I tell you what does stop it.
1 minute.
Not only does the blood of Jesus cover it, and by the way, I look at it, but this is what does stop it. Cutting off the supply. Someone says, well, that can't be done. Yes, it can. Oh, it can be done. You cannot legislate morality. Yes, morality, yeah. It'll still get into the country because criminals exist. That's what criminals do. I mean, people still drank during Prohibition, no doubt about it. And yes, there are some things that we sustain, like drinking with government funds, but it's taxed. Going to be back in just a minute. Wish I had a lot of time to talk about this. I'm CL Bryant Show.
About to check outside the game. You know what I'm talking about. Just let me know if you're gonna go to that home out on the range. They got a lot of nice girls. I'm racing.
CL here to close it out in this final segment of the show today. It went by real fast. Folks, pay attention to what's going on. These are very perilous times that we live in, and it has been for a long time. I never thought that the spillover from the days that Jane and I ministered down at the Midnight Rescue Mission in Los Angeles would ever follow us all the way into 2016. But it has. The evils of the streets there in Los Angeles, what used to be called Skid Row, in every city, and just about every city, and I won't say every city because I've been to some cities where it's just really Mayberry. It's just Mayberry. They just don't tolerate a lot of stuff. And I kind of prefer there to be cities where people understand that community means making sure that it remains a community that's safe and livable. And your wife, your children, your daughters can walk down the street. I prefer those types of cities. But I understand that, as I said earlier, the human condition is frail and it's flawed. And unless there is the type of direction that can be given by whatever entity it might be, whether it's your faith, what have you, educational systems, what have you, then the flawed character of human beings tend to run amok if there is no influence of faith, family, friends, society. It runs, the flawed character of humanity will run amok. It will do it. And so we do have this epidemic, this heroin epidemic. You have shooting up with supervision going on. And yes, you have drunk driving and all that type of thing. That probably does, in fact, affect society in ways that heroin probably never will. And I have seen the evil of alcoholism in my own family. I've seen that. And I have seen the evil of heroin addiction. I've seen that. It's all horrid. It's all horrid. And folks, in this Easter week, we must understand that the human condition has been so from the very beginning, since Cain killed Abel. One that we must not only pray for, but also try to affect with our daily work. Well, I want to thank God for bringing us to the close of yet another day, and I want to thank Him for our men and women in uniform who defend our rights to speak our mind. And until I'm able to talk to you again, I'm CL, and may God bless and keep you all.
And to the families left behind, we'll stand by your side. And the bond will never be torn for those who wear the uniform. I say a prayer.